Good morning, YouTube. I hope you have your coffee because today we're going back into our M1 Finance dashboard and looking at our activity feed. The activity feed, or the activity tab in M1 Finance, is located at the top right next to portfolio. And let's begin. I've already clicked on that, but if you have M1 Finance, and I hope you do, I hope you've used my affiliate link because we would both get $50 if you do. Please do. Please. I could use $50. Couldn't you? I know a lot of people that can use $50. Back to activities. So, activity tab. What is this showing us? The activity tab is every activity that is being done for that particular portfolio. So if you have multiple portfolios, you'll see different things happening. So this is a portfolio specific, along with the holdings. I went over holdings last video, but holdings is also portfolio specific. So with activity, you can see here, it does automatically organize it by the latest date. Again, though, you can click on these columns. No, you can only click on date, but you can sort by the earliest date, which you can see my earliest date was when I first set up on M1 Finance. That was May 4th of last year. And I funded it with $200, and I bought a few things. Let's see, what did I buy? Oh yes, I was still a M1 noob. So when I first set it up, I set it up to have 5 different stocks with no pies, just that main portfolio. I did Tesla, SPY, that's the S&P 500, SPHD, which is a high dividend monthly yield, QQQ, and the Dow Jones Industrial Average. QQQ, that is the NASDAQ ETF. The DIA is the Dow Jones ETF. And SPY is the S&P 500 ETF. Yeah. So those were my 5 original holdings, and I spent $200. So, but let's go ahead and take a look at 1 year later in July. So we can see, actually this morning, I had a buy order of $2.91, and that was because on the 20th, July 20th was a very red day on the market. It happened to fall on Monday, so my rules are set for Monday because Monday's always red. Am I right? Monday was red. I previously stated Mondays are always red. Research says Monday is always red, and Monday was red. So I had my $150 deposit. For whatever reason, once you start getting a good amount of holdings, like I believe I have 65 different positions, and that's 65 different companies or stocks that I own. So it will try to do, depends on the allocations and how many positions, but sometimes you'll see that it won't invest every single dollar, quarter, nickel, and dime, penny. It'll have a little bit left over. So on Tuesday, so Monday I did an additional. On Monday morning, my first deposit went through, $150. it was a very red day, and the market closed fairly red. So I went ahead and deposited another. This was a manual deposit of $250. So yesterday morning, it went ahead and spent $259.10, and that was, yeah. So I had like an additional $2.91. So yeah. Anyways, the 250, like these bigger numbers, are automatic investments. This 291, like I mentioned last video, I went ahead and bought Verizon because it was, I should have put it in ED, but anyways, whatever. I went ahead and put it into Verizon stock because Verizon is always consistently, my cost basis with Verizon is consistently under. So I'm trying to average out Verizon. Sometimes, though, I do put it into QYLD. QYLD, it's called a covered call ETF. It does some weird things, but it has a really decent dividend of like 10, 11 some percent. And let me see if I can. Yeah, it has a 11.36% dividend yield for QYLD. So I can average down my cost basis as well as get more and more dividends and start compounding that wealth. That is one of the reasons why I consider my strategy a dividend income portfolio rather than a dividend growth. So anyways, what are some of the other, that's all fine and dandy, but this is a lot of things that you've got to go through for a full year. You can also organize this by different dates. You can do it by different symbols. So let's say Verizon. Oh, hey, look at this. Buy. Dividend. Sell? Why did this happen? So why did I do... I know why. But do you know why I sold Verizon on June 1st of 2021? Well, let's take a look here. 0701 20. Actually, what's the day prior? May 31st. So, or June. What is it? June? Yeah, May 31st to June 2nd. May 31 to 2021 to 07/02 2021. Okay, so we're looking at that day, and the reason why I was showing a sell order on Verizon. So that should be 6/2. Oh, okay. So we have a bunch of dividends, dividend deduction. I'll go over this in a second. That'll be the next thing. Oh, look here. I did a rebalance. Rebalance fulfilled. Huh. So we have a morning trading. We have 41 buys, 19 sells. And then the next day, we got a $2.44 dividend. Ah, that's why I showed a Verizon sell. Because it was rebalancing. Okay. Cool. So, yeah, it was a rebalance. Now, the main thing with the activity feed is that it's going to give me another drink of coffee here. Give me 1 second. Nothing better than cold coffee, right? Graham Stephan, 20-cent iced coffees. Well, I have my great value Walmart coffee. So there. Ha ha ha. Activity types. You can see here we have trading, dividends, deposits and withdrawals, cash movements, and position changes. So let's, when we hover over one of these, typically when I'm looking at the activity, I only want to show dividends. So I can only show dividends. But let's look at this in order, shall we? If we look at trading, you can see all of the trading that we do. You know, buy, 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 buy. Those two sells. Ah, yeah, these were just positions that I was getting out of. I wasn't feeling really too comfortable. I believe Avery, if I'm not mistaken, Avery Dennison, they may have lowered their dividend yield. I'm not sure. But anyways, I got out of that position, so that's why the sell there. YOLO, same thing. It was probably a bad thing that I did, but you know, whatever. That's a cannabis play that I had into this dividend portfolio. It probably should have been in my growth portfolio, if I'm being honest, but it's what it is. And then these, you know, automated purchases. So, oh, okay, cool. So yeah, that is the trading part. You know, your morning buys, afternoon buy sells. You know, if they were fulfilled, every trading thing should be fulfilled. So, but let's look at dividends. These are going to be all of your dividends. Now, I mentioned this dividend deduction here. So I also want to go ahead and look at cash movements, because this also ties in. So sometimes when all you have are companies that are American companies, all you will see are dividends. But some companies are overseas companies, like Total Energies, TransAlta. Both of these are companies that are not based in the U.S. So when they pay a dividend, they're paying it in their currency. So they declare, you know, $1.33 dividend. That is what they declare. But when they do that declaration, they're declaring it in their currency. So you have a deduction of, this is, you know, the, if I am, yeah, so that is their current, sorry, I was getting a little bit ahead of myself. But yeah, so they're paying it on, I believe in Total Energies, that is a Canadian company, if I'm not mistaken. So they pay their dividend out in dollars, or in Canadian dollars. However, that's taxed automatically, and you'll see that on your W-2s, or whatever, not W-2s because it's not a job, but whatever tax forms that the taxes go through. This is done automatically, and you'll see that. So that's the reason for the dividend deductions. Any overseas company, it'll deduct the taxes automatically. But, and this is kind of what I was saying, I was getting a little bit ahead of myself. They pay their dividend in a different currency. So you have to have that currency whatever it's called. See, I am not a financial advisor. I'm not a financial person. They have to change from the Canadian dollar to the American dollar, whatever that's called. It's a really simple term. I haven't had that much coffee, and the coffee that I do have is cold. I need to go to the microwave, but that is the reason for what's called an ADR fee. The ADR fee is, and of course it'll tell me when I hover over it, it's a fee from a foreign security traded on a U.S. exchange through an intermediary. Basically, it's so they can do the conversion. Yes, the conversion from the Canadian dollar to the U.S. dollar. When I looked at it and did some online research, that's what I got from it. But anyways, deposits and withdrawals. That's going to be fairly self-explanatory. That's going to show you every deposit and every withdrawal that you have. So let's just actually take for an example here, because in my previous videos I mentioned about buying it was the cash back and everything and furnishing an apartment, blah blah blah. Well, long story short, the market went down. I knew it was going to go back up, so I put all of my stimulus dollars into the market, knowing that it was going to go up. I was going to make a lot of money, and by a lot I mean like $1,000 or so. And then I was going to use what I made to get a new apartment, new furniture, etc., etc. You know, yeah, I would have to pay taxes, blah blah, you know, whatever. So yeah, if we look at only here, and let's organize this by date, back 2020, deposit, deposits, withdrawal. Yeah, so you can see, you know, rent and apartment, furniture, etc. Yeah, this was pretty much it. So everything else is a deposit, but that's how it looks at. Why would you want to specifically look at your deposits and withdrawals? If you're managing the account with another person, your spouse, your children, you know, custodial accounts, you know, if you give, let's say you have a custodial account, there's, let's say 13, 15, 16, they're still a minor, but you want them to have a little bit more control on what they want to do with their account. And, you know, one day you have $100,000 in the account, and then the next day you have $20, and you're like, oh my God, my kid's college is gone. What happens? You go to activity, you look at withdrawal, and you see your child withdrew $99,000. You can get that belt out and say, hey, what'd you spend it on? Little extreme example, but an example nonetheless. Cash movements. These are going to be all your fees. You can see here they're just ADR fees. Position changes. Yeah, these are going to be your splits, your mergers. Okay, it does not show ticker symbol changes. It should, but it doesn't. I was going to see if it had that TTE there. But you can see Seagate had a merger. There was a stock split for some security. I think this was TTE before they changed their name. Yeah, these are going to be all your splits and mergers. So that is pretty much it for the activity section. Wanted to go ahead and do a little brief in-depth look at how you can use this to your advantage to kind of see what's going on with the portfolio. This won't take a full video, but we can go into funding history, and this will be listed as in years and how much you've invested, how much you withdrew for each year. Some types of transfers, so you can read through that. I believe that's going to be like IRA transfers if you're going from like transferring from a standard IRA to a Roth IRA, things like that. But yeah, so that's actually pretty much it for how to use M1 Finance. Anything else that doesn't need a full video that I can look into? Borrowing. This is going to be margin lending. That's right now I'm eligible at $2,200. You can see I actually have not done any margin lending. I do believe that there is one video on YouTube that does show somebody that has borrowed through M1 Finance. One thing that I can say that I probably will take advantage at some point in the next decade is this percentage rate could actually be lower than any other percentage rate out there. Let's say you want to buy a new car, you want to get a car loan, a house loan, medical bills, and you have a significant amount in your portfolio and you're willing to borrow against the stock market in general. What I would do, and again, this is not financial advice, but if I was in those type of shoes, I would look at how much money I have in my portfolio versus the average change the portfolio can get, over the course of time, 5 years, 10 years, maybe 3%, 3 to 4% up and down. So I would only borrow. I would take my portfolio, the amount that I have in my portfolio, deduct it by 4%, or let's say 5%. Actually, let's go high, 10%. Especially if you have a really low risk portfolio like I do. 10% lower than what I have in my portfolio, and that is what I would borrow against. So right now I can borrow $2,200 at $6,300. Well, I would lower that significantly. So, but yeah, that's the borrow here. The next video, because this one will go a little bit more in depth, is going to be the research tab, where we can get news, various watch lists, expert pies. I did go through this, but I really didn't explain it in the second video. But in the next video, we'll go ahead, we'll do a deep dive. I'll see you then. Bye.